Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, and here we are to fight CPS and hang on to your children. I want to welcome you from wherever you are, whether you're in the United States or outside the United States. This is a worldwide podcast. And yes, I have had 15 countries that have text messages about CPS. So CPS is worldwide, and I encourage everyone that has an issue with CPS to listen to my podcast so that it may help you deal with an agency called the Child Protection System. Now, it has different names in every place in the United States and every county. Even in the world, there's different names. So when I say the Child Protection System, I mean all of them, whether they're, different names or whatever. It's a branch of social services in the United States that Congress has enacted a group of social workers to protect our children from neglect and abuse. To protect our children from neglect or abuse. Furthermore, they're supposed to help you with food, your family I'm talking about, and if needed, your food, your shelter, your clothing, your transportation, your medical, your education, and even a job. Right now, it protects everybody that comes in the United States or is in the United States. And one thing is our children are very precious. They're little individuals as they grow up, and they learn a lot from parents. And so what the child agency, the social services, the child protection system is supposed to do is supposed to answer concerns from people that call in with abuse or neglect. And there are two groups of those people. They're your professional people and your lay people. Lay people are relatives, family, friends. Those are your lay people. Professionals are firemen, policemen, teachers, counselors, caregivers, anybody that deals with children professionally, doctors and nurses. They go through specialized training, learning how to recognize child abuse and child neglect and how to call it in. And most of the time they have it right. But the lay people, it's a 50-50 shot. What I mean by that is a lot of people use it to alienate one parent against the other parent. Maybe they're upset with the neighbor's yard, encroaching their yard, or maybe a dog is barking, so they'll make up stories that aren't true. The sad part about child neglect and child abuse, there are children that are definitely abused every day. I've heard over 1,000 children per day. And a lot of them go unreported. And then sadly, some individuals that take them on themselves to think, oh, I can call CPS to get revenge on my neighbor, or I can call CPS to get the children from my spouse in a divorce matter. So what happens is you get a lot of false claims. And that's sad because these false claims come into the Child Protective Service and must be investigated within 24 hours. Also, these claims that come in, the child protection system says you're guilty and then you're proven innocent. It's the only criminal court that you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Every other criminal law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So a lot of things work against you. Also, what's happened too is the Child Protection Services has gone rogue, meaning that they are now taking children that don't need to be taken. They're not in imminent danger. You see, when they take a child in imminent danger, then they got to do family reunification. But CPS wants money. And why I say money? Because I've talked to over 600 people in every state of the USA, and I've talked worldwide. And the common thing they all have is they took my child with no reason. They came and ordered me to give up the child. And that is hard on you. That's hard on you. Now, I'm on this podcast twice a day, 7 days a week. I come on at 10 o'clock Pacific time in the morning for 1 hour, and then again at evening at 7 p.m. for 1 hour. There is exceptions. On Saturday, I'm on 2 hours early to give chance for that podcast that my attorney, Vincent Davis, was talking to you at the beginning of my show. He has the questions and answers on Saturday at 10. It's really imperative you attend it. It's free. They'll repeat again at the end of my podcast. Now, Mr. Davis is one of the best child protection juvenile family dependency lawyers. He knows how to fight CPS. He's been doing it for over 35 years. He's a trial attorney. He does get results. He will get your children back. In fact, he's done civil lawsuits, and he's won millions of dollars, both in federal and in state courts. So he's not afraid of them. He's a pit bull. He's a very nice, intelligent man, and he wants very much to help you. He gives a lot of his time. He has his podcasts from time to time, and he gives a lot of his time. And I want to thank you, Mr. Davis, for providing this podcast and all that you do. I want to thank you. Now, there are 8 rooms that are linked to this podcast live, and they come in with messages, and so far I've only had one so far, but they do come in. There's 8 rooms, and the one room is my room, which is Fight CPS with Bob Pace. There's another room called the Law Office of Vincent W. Davis and Associates. Then there is the one that is Fight CPS Real Talk with Mrs. G. She's a down-to-earth woman and very caring. Then there is the reality series CPS The Horror Stories that deals with all the bad cases of CPS. Then there's Juvenile Dependency. And then there is Relatives Fight CPS. And then there's Mr. Davis's podcast, The Secret How to Fight CPS and Win. That's a good one to go to. And then there's a YouTube room called the CPS Defense Strategy. Those 8 rooms will join me in this room. And all the comments made there are here. So I'll see your text messages. Now, they may repeat when they do come in. They take a while to load. But each of them has messages that you can read and look at. Now, I'm broadcasting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. and I'm here to help you. I've been fighting CPS for 15 years. I've been involved with CPS. My children were trafficking into foster care. And I lost one of my children to the child protection system. I also lost my home and my credit and everything else. They have ruined my life. You know, I'm a family man. I have 42 years of marriage. I've had 2 marriages, and unfortunately, the first marriage ended. That was after 10 years. But my second marriage has been 32 years, and I have 6 children, 3 older ones and 3 younger ones. And the older ones are one's in the 40s, 2 are in the 30s, and the rest of them, 2 of them are in their 20s, and 1 is in the teens. And at the time of my incident, in 2010 is when I first started getting involved with CPS. I had unfortunately lost my job through no fault of my own. And it was sad. I mean, I was trying to find it. I was age 60 and worked 45 years. And people don't like hiring older people. And so I found that out and had a rude awakening to that. And I've been trying to do it. It's been 15 years since 2010. And when that started losing my job, bad things started happening. My in-laws, who are lay people, called in and reported that my wife and I weren't taking care of our children. They'd once a week, the mother, the father, the 3 sisters, or the brother, my wife's family members, would call and make up stories like we weren't feeding them, we weren't taking them to school, we weren't bathing, we weren't have clothes for them to wear. And that was far from the truth. In 5 years, you know, I showed them the paperwork to support they're in school and doing well. I had them in my house to see the food cupboards full of food and how we prepare the food. I had no problem letting them in the house. I learned later you're not supposed to let them in your house, to do fishing in your house. And yes, they did do that eventually with me. And that happened about 5 years later because this went on for 5 years. Well, my older children have been out of the house. My last one left at 25, and now she's 36 now. My other one is 33, and then I got a 47. Those 3 children have been out on their own and stuff. And when me and my wife got involved with the child protection system, it became a nightmare with me and my family and my kids and everything else. All because the lay people were calling in with false allegations. Also, I did not know that the Orange County Child Protection Service is corrupt. It's in there for the money. It's $1 trillion business per year that the child protection system makes off for families. And they prey on families that are low income, that maybe do not know too much about CPS or nothing at all, and they're going through hardship of some matter or nothing. I had to protect my assets, so I saved all my money to pay the mortgage payments and lasted from 2010 to 2017 till I finally had to sell my house and hire a real attorney. Yes, a real attorney. I hired Mr. Davis to get my children back. They were taken in 2015, 5 years after the harassment by the child protection system of Orange County. I mean, it was so bad, the stories they make up and what they believe. As far as I know, there's no credibility. The social worker we had didn't have a college degree, didn't have a high school education, and furthermore, had no additional training in the child protection system. She's young. I think she was 23 at the time, and she didn't have a family of her own. She didn't have the experience, but here she was dictating to us. Our children were taken from us because they thought they were in imminent danger. Now, our children were in school. I don't know that school is imminent danger. Anyway, in 2015, They got frustrated, CPS did, and didn't hire, but called the police department that said, hey, we need to go in that house. We don't understand. We get these complaints every week from this family in Ohio complaining about something in California. So a detective found out, how I pick up my children and followed me. And then he had me stopped by a black and white with some false traffic allegation. I listened because I always obey the black and white. And then the detective came up to me and said, you're following me to your home and you're opening it up. And I said, what for? He says, you're listening to me one more time. Very rough, very abrasive. This department and where I live in Surf City, USA is very corrupt. It isn't people friendly. Anyway, I did what I thought was right. I did not know that they have to have a warrant or they have to have your permission to come into your home. Or there's got to be domestic violence going on or any kind of violence going on involving the children. My children are in school, so I knew it was not any violence going on in front of the children. I did not give them permission. I was tricked into giving them permission. And they did not have a warrant. That's the other way that they get into your home. I was supposed to pick up my wife that day. It was bad because she had to stand there and wait, and she didn't know what was going on. And I just picked up my 9-year-old son, who was very troubled by all these people in front of our home. There were 5 firemen, 2 code enforcement, 2 uniformed policemen, and 3 social workers. Why did it and the detective, why did it take all these people to come to my home? I live in a private neighborhood a mile from the beach. My home is fairly new and it's respectable. There are CCNRs you have to follow. You cannot have any weird going on without the neighborhood knowing about it. But I said, sure, I'll open my home. Now, unfortunately, my dad had passed away in 2013. My mom was soon following. She was quite ill. And one of the things my dad asked, could you sort our belongings of 55 years of marriage from our 3,000 square foot home and give them to family and friends? Well, that's a lot of belongings. But my youngest daughter and I got a U-Haul truck, went up there, got my parents' belongings, took it home, and at first I stacked it all in front of the garage apron, the driveway, not out in the street, and I put a tarp on it so people couldn't see what was there. But that was against the CCNRs. I was ordered to bring the stuff inside my home, inside my yard. That's a lot of things, but I did. I put it in the living room, but I did not block the formal dining room or the kitchen where food is prepared, or the breakfast eating area, or the family room, or the hallways, or the downstairs study or computer or library room. Nothing was upstairs with the children's bedrooms, our master bedroom. Nothing was there. And so it was strictly exaggerated by what they were fishing and finding for, that they charged with me and my wife with neglect. They said the boxes could hurt the children. They called it neglect. And so I proceeded to show them the house, and they were trying with the firemen to find things they couldn't find. And so it was really, really disgusting what they were doing and what they're saying. Anyway, it was a disaster. I should never let them into my home, and I should have had an attorney present. That is the most important thing to do, is that when you're involved with CPS, that a you get a lawyer who will advise you. But it's very important to get the right kind of lawyer. I had a court-appointed lawyer. Now, court-appointed lawyers are nice because they're free. Your children have a court-appointed lawyer, so that was 3 lawyers. Me and my wife each had one. That was 5 lawyers, all court-appointed. The only problem is the court-appointed lawyers have a caseload of 30 or more clients. They won't have time to talk to you. They won't even have time to fight for your case. It was a losing battle. I was so embarrassed by this court-appointed attorney making deals. Now, I was not in the courtroom because in Orange County, they don't allow you in the courtroom, which I think is wrong. You should be able to see your whole proceeding. Also, it should be a jury trial. You don't understand that CPS does not have jury trials. That's wrong. Your peers should make the final judgment of whether, what happens to you and your children. That is so disgusting that they railroad everything over because they are corrupt. I know firsthand they're corrupt. I've talked to over 600 people that says they're corrupt. I've talked to every state. So it isn't one state or another state or whatever. It's really, 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 really bad. And let me see. I'm trying to invite some of my regular people by texting them. So it was disaster, and I did get an attorney because my court-appointed attorney did nothing, either for my wife or me, and our case was going nowhere. It was a complicated case because the detective filed a report of lies, and the district attorney decided to do a criminal matter against both of us parents and charge us also with the same charges as the CPS did. And CPS's attitude was, well, until you get your charges taken care of in a criminal matter, we're going to do nothing but sit on your case. And they were getting $20,000 per child per month. That's $60,000 per month for 3 children that they stole from us. It was a horrible, horrible experience. Something that you all should not have to go through. So I have a lot of information about what to do. I've developed 5 rules. One of them, of course, is get an attorney. With an attorney, they'll direct you what to do. But it's the selection of the right attorney, and it's also monetarily affects you too. Now, we have a phone number in my room, 888-888-6582. That's the law office of Vincent W. Davis Associates. You can retain Mr. Davis or any one of the other attorneys in other areas of legal matters, such as criminal law, divorce, real estate, immigration, workman's comp, insurance. I can go on and on about the different kinds of attorneys that are there. You just call in at 888-888-6582 and tell them that Bob Pace sent you. It's very important you say that Bob Pace sent you. Now, my first rule is to have that real bona fide attorney, that dependency, family, juvenile attorney, someone who has background experience in that. I'm not saying you have to use Mr. Davis, but he certainly is available. And he works out of Arcadia, south of Los Angeles, but he also has cases in Orange County, LA County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Northern California. He goes up to there, plus he goes to every state in the union. Right now he's in Oklahoma. He can practice law. He's a pit bull attorney, and he will fight you and win for your children back. All you have to do is talk to him. And I have several ways you can talk to him that won't cost you a dime. One is by being a guest on my podcast. Once you're a guest on my podcast, you're eligible for a 15-minute free private Zoom meeting with Mr. Davis to go over your CPS. Also, if you call in, you get a free 15-minute private consultation with Mr. Davis if you call in and speak on my speakerphone. So those are 2 ways. A third way is to book a private consultation for 30 minutes for $60 with Mr. Davis. You just go to a website. It's https Candly, CALENDLY.com, apps, APPTSVWD / Pace. And there you can use your credit card and book that 30 minutes for $60. Now, to interact more with this podcast, I mean, you're in this room, and I want to thank you for being in this room. You can do emojis like thumbs up. You can do smiley faces. You can even do hearts. And if you like, please send me stars. And then down below, check me to follow me. I love to have followers. Also, check if you want notification when I'm on. It'll notify your phone. I'm here to help you. And all you have to do is ask. I'm asking for nothing in return. I want to help you. CPS is the nightmare of an agency. CPS is like your Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen into a rabbit hole and you encountered the cat. And that cat will send you from room to room. You won't seem like you're getting anywhere. Okay. The importance of an attorney it's the key to your success of getting your children back. A second way I've discovered is you got to take very good notes about your CPS case. You got to have a notebook, 11 inches by 8.5. That's 3 inches thick with 3 rings. Stuff it full of college route notebook. Get yourself dividers and put dividers in there. Divide all of the paperwork you get from your case. One of the most important areas is a timeline incident log. It's where you'll make a list of everything that happens with you and your social worker, the CPS, the police, the school, other adults, your children, etc. And all you do is list the date, the time, the location, and the people that are involved on the first line. The second line, you want to describe your CPS question. And you can do that and then after that, you want to put what the results of the incident were. If you don't know it, keep it blank, skip a couple lines, and do your next one and next one and next one. It will help you so much because you will not remember. You will not remember what you said 6 months ago. So it's so important. It's so important to keep track of everything. The third one I've found out is you say no to policemen or social workers. You do not talk to them. You do not let them in your home. And if you see them outside your home, be courteous with them and tell them that you'll get back with your attorney to meet either at Starbucks or McDonald's. You don't have to meet at their office, and you certainly don't want to meet at your home because they're going to go fishing at your home. Make sure they get their name and check their ID against it. Sometimes they give false names. That goes for the police too. You don't have to talk to the police either. Because with that, they may back off if you have an attorney. You may not have one. You have time to go find one if you can. But if you can't, then you're going to have to deal with the layman or the court-appointed, I don't want to call him a lawyer, but they did pass the bar exam and they have something they can handle criminal matters. But they're not going to fight for you. They're not going to fight for you. Now, I've had several people in this room, and I don't see other topics from other rooms coming in. I don't know what's happened there because usually there's a lot of them. So, if you give them permission, they can come in your home. If you don't give them permission, they don't have to come in your home. Best thing to do is don't answer the door. Too many people have been killed lately by answering the door. A black Air Force airman was killed at the age of 23 in Florida by a sheriff who was searching for domestic violence and shot first before he asked any questions. The guy died in his arms while he was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. That was a horrible, horrible incident. Now, I said to get into your home. If you give them permission or someone in the home gives permission, then you're stuck with them being in your home, and they're going to search for something that's wrong with your home. But don't give them to your children. You don't want to give them permission. And if they don't have a court warrant, you don't have to surrender your children. Now, this thing called a court warrant is a special document that's signed by a judge. And the name is stamped by the court clerk so that people can't modify it or change it, whatever. One thing, make sure the date on the signature of the judges was done on a working day, not a holiday or a weekend when they're off. So there's got to be a work day. And that warrant has got to clearly say who's being charged, listing all the people. And then they have the charges of neglect or abuse. So that warrant has to give specific directions of what they plan to do. It's got to have your name and all the people that are involved in the case's name, including the children. It's got to have the charges of neglect or abuse on there. Furthermore, it's got to have what they can do and what they can do, like take your children or talk to you. You need to follow the court warrant. Now, we just had another room come in. I don't know why they're coming in so slow. But, actually, there's two have come in now, it looks like. The reality series is repeated twice. The juvenile dependency and the secret how to fight CPS and win have come in. So that's 1, 2, 3 out of 8 rooms. 5 more still left to come in. And it's already 38 minutes that I've been on the podcast. Now, another thing that comes up, if you meet these social workers or police outside, what you can do is tell them that you need your lawyer present. It's a constitutional right that your lawyer is present for all proceedings. It says that very clearly in the so if you tell them that you need your attorney present, that will give you some time. Make sure you check out the badge number of the policeman, get all the information, the same thing with the social worker. And hopefully you can find an attorney. But you need to stall it as much as possible to gather all the facts up. They're supposed to give you papers of what you've done in writing with more detail. Also, you got to be careful that the local police don't take the same charges to you against it. They did in my case. It's been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare. Now, another part is called medical trafficking. Now, medical trafficking is when you take your child because they're sick or ill to urgent care or to the emergency room. Another form of medical trafficking is when you're pregnant and you go to the birthing room. CPS workers and police are not allowed there. Don't talk to them. It's your constitutional rights. You just should not be disturbed with your child. A lot of times doctors will say your child needs this or that, and you want to have your pediatrician look at that or do it something different. And I'm sorry to say that they are very tricky on tricking you, giving up your children and taking your children and lying to you. Be very careful and wary of the CPS workers. Welcome, Michelle Portner. You've been in here before. I hope you are doing well, Bob. I certainly am trying my best. And so, Michelle Portner, I forget, what area of the country are you from? Michelle Portner says of Atlanta. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. She says the Children's Healthcare Atlanta does that. The hospital lets them in. Then they say they'll take your kids if you record, or they have social workers of CPS that work in the hospital. They'll hear things like, the doctor may say you need a vaccination. He said, well, I'll get my pediatrician to do that. They'll take it as denial of things. So you got to be careful. If social workers are talking to you, tell them to please leave the hospital area. Ask the manager of the hospital to have them removed. Unless they have a warrant, they have no right to talk to you and no right to be in that room. Same thing goes for having a baby. I've heard of stories where the police and the social worker will come in and rip the baby still attached with the umbilical cord. That's very gross. The mother needs some bonding time with that child. That's wrong what they do there. That is so wrong. And it was so sad to hear that. So you tell the doctor, the nurse, or ask for the hospital manager and tell them, please have these people go to the lobby. They don't have a warrant and they don't belong in a room while I'm having my baby. So that's medical trafficking. Now we have Michelle Porter from Atlanta, Georgia. That has an issue. I guess it's just what I was talking about. The Children's Healthcare Atlanta got in trouble for denying employment to a worker not get vaccinated. He won. Look it up. I believe you. It's really weird how people have stretched the laws. So medical trafficking is a serious business. So be careful. Now, my fourth rule that I've come up with is that it's very important that you research your CPS case. And it's important how you arrange your words. You want to list a city. If it's a major city like Atlanta, Georgia, that's all you need. But if you're in Athens, you may want to say Athens and Atlanta, Georgia. Then put the acronym CPS after the location, and then you type in what you want to know. What is dependency law? How does CPS take children? How soon is my case going to be over? What do I need to do? There's so much information that you can get on the internet. So spend 60 hours. That's my rule number 5. And my last one that I've come up with is to have a folder, a portfolio of all your children's records, your records, meaning birth certificates, social security numbers, medical records, education records, the grade reports, your marriage certificate, copies are fine. Your birth certificate, your family, your father's birth certificate, the children's birth certificate, their shot records, anything else record-wise you want to have. And they can be copies, but they need to be in a folder so you can show them to the court, because they'll come up and say the father's not married. He is called the assumption. But if you show a marriage certificate, the father is married. Now, Michelle from Atlanta, Georgia, has written me another comment. She is in DeKalb County in Georgia. They put them in the county of the hospital because they took them because I refused to talk to them, and they kicked out and took my phone when I started recording. Well, hopefully you can sue them civilly, because that's wrong what they're doing. You should have just said, hey, I have an attorney. I need my attorney present before I go any further. I will take your number and get back to you, but I need to have an attorney present. And you see if that works, trying to get rid of them. Because they're not supposed, recording, you ask them permission to record. If they say you can't record, then don't record. But they can't take your phone, and they certainly cannot take your children unless they have a warrant. And they cannot make you talk unless they have a warrant. That's my rule number 3. Do not talk to social workers. Do not talk to policemen. Don't let them intimidate you. But I'm really sorry that you're going through this, Michelle. And all I can suggest is maybe tell them you had a court-appointed attorney. Good. You did it with your last baby. Good, good, good. That's wrong that people have to do extra things to record something. Now, I assume you have a page, and that is good. I don't know what your page is. I assume it's on Facebook, and maybe it's by your name, Michelle Portler from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, they'll say you can't record, but you have to know the laws in the state. And one of the easiest ways to get around them is say, I have an attorney. He needs to be present. I will call you at this number when we get together, when I get my attorney together. Well, the HIPAA law, let me tell you what the HIPAA is. That's one of my topics on my screen up here. The HIPAA. Let me see if I can find it. I will try to find it. The HIPAA is the Freedom of Information Act. Here it is. It's called the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's a federal law that protects the privacy and security of health information. Establishes nationwide standards for protecting health information. It gives patients rights like requesting a copy of the records. HIPAA is supposed to reduce healthcare fraud and abuse and allow people to keep their health insurance coverage when they change or lose a job. HIPAA applies to health plans, healthcare providers, and healthcare clearinghouses that conduct certain electronic transactions. It also protects health information held by business associates and billing services that are hired by covered entities. Now, I know in California, parents and guardians cannot record interviews and conversations with child protection service workers without the worker's permission. However, some say that parents should be allowed to record these interactions to ensure the accuracy of the information gathered and to have evidence in case of errors. And there are a lot of errors that are made. I think if you tell them that you're recording this so there's no errors made, is one way to get around it. One way to get around it. Now, Michelle says they took the kids as hostages so I would talk. They do that all the time. It's called alienation, and that's against the law when they alienate the children from their parents. And wouldn't let me see them until I told them the father's and it's on YouTube. Okay. Georgia is a one-sided consent state. Ooh, that sounds terrible. I don't even have to tell them for recording things. So aren't they breaking HIPAA laws by trying to force the family to use their service provided to complete their plan? It's racketeering. Again, if you have an attorney, your attorney is the best person to interpret the laws. You as a layperson or me we're not attorneys, and it's best to have an attorney represent you. I know that money may be a factor, but it's very important you have an attorney tell you what to do and what not to do. And do a research in the internet about this. Type in Atlanta, Georgia, CPS. Can I record what takes place? And see what that comes up with. In Georgia, it's generally illegal to record a private conversation without the consent of all parties involved. However, there's some exceptions. Some exceptions. In Georgia, it's legal to record a conversation if one party consents. This includes in-person conversation and phone calls. It's legal to record activities on your own property for security, crime prevention, or crime detection. So if you have a camera on when CPS approaches your home, you can record them. It's legal to record activities of incarcerated individuals, except where they're discussing their case with their attorney. It's best to ask caseworkers to record the conversation and get their signed consent. Now, in Georgia, CPS caseworkers can lawfully remove your children, and the word is lawful, remove your children from home if they determine your house, you or a member of your household, to immediate threat to your kids. That's violence, and if the children are involved, that's to protect them. However, CPS investigators take children away from parents only as a last resort. It should be a last resort. Now, again, Georgia prohibits the use of a camera without consent of all persons observed to observe, photograph, or record activities of another which occurred in any private place out of public view. So if it's a public place that public can see, then fine. That's why you should meet them at McDonald's or Starbucks. Never meet them at their office. Never meet them at their office. Now, you want to make it always public, and then you can record. Now, what's so sad is I just found this out in California. Bosses, employers, managers, and supervisors in California are legally allowed to yell at, curse at, insult, not help, public embarrass, lie about, be mean to, and undermine at will employees. That's something I never heard of. Oh boy. What's our world coming to? What's our world coming to? Well, I'm glad you can record in Georgia. I was just reading the law in there, and it said you had to be in a public place or have consent. Thank you very much for sharing that with me, Michelle. She also says one-party consent. Georgia is a one-party consent state, meaning that only one person in a conversation needs to be aware and give consent to the conversation of being recorded. So I guess you have multiple people, it's for that. My time is up. I've gone a full hour. It's 11 o'clock, and I need to end the podcast. I agree they don't work for unification. Statistics across multiple states supports this. I agree with you, Michelle. And I got to end that with your last comment there. Thank you so much for being a part of my podcast, Michelle. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the next time. And I'm trying to be well. And thank you so much for all my people that support me. Now, I'm again going to be on. Friday night is Friday Night Lights football, but I'm going to be on at 7 o'clock because my son's football team has a bye. They're the number one team in the country, and they're going for their 7th national championships. And my son has had 2 of them all. And I've seen all 4 of them. So anyway, I'll be on at 7 o'clock tonight, Pacific Standard Time, and we can talk further about the things. God bless you all. Keep fighting to have your kids return. And I'm going to sign off, and you're going to hear a message.
Hi, I'm Attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.